everybody. Hey, how is everybody doing? Oh my goodness, we're almost through the month of January, and I cannot believe it. But first and foremost, I want to welcome you all to another episode of EnVision Me podcast. Now, if you're new to the podcast, you guys know what we're doing. Well, we're actually doing a speaker series, and we're bringing speakers on. They're going to give us their empowering stories, as well as we're going to go in deep in with them, right? So if you have any questions, drop them in the feed, as well as today's Win Wednesday. So you know how we do it. I love to hear your win for the week. Now my phone is already beeping like someone's like, well, what's a win? A win is if you set a goal and you met the goal, or you've set the goal, but you just don't know where to start at, or you're even thinking about setting a goal. And again, you're overwhelmed with so many goals, you just don't know how a starting point or starting place. Any of that, I want to hear your win for the week. That's huge. I think it is. But I will love to hear your win for the week. Drop it in the feed. We will give you a shout out. Then you'll get to hear mine. And I have another amazing guest. So, yes, those of you who don't know me, my name is Pam, and I am the CEO of Vision Made, which we come in and we've created EnVision Me podcast. The podcast that comes on weekly. We sit back and we have a good time. Look, I even have a little bit of my evening beverage where we sit down and we have girl talk, but we're going deeper in. So you'll know how to get to your what's next. Even though we all face obstacles, we don't talk about the obstacles that we face. So each of my guests has obstacles that they face, and you're going to get to hear their obstacles they face and how to get through it. So without further ado, let me bring on my amazing Christine. How you doing, Miss Christine?
Hello, hello. It's so good to be here. I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us. So tell everybody a look. Look, everybody is excited because I told them that I'm having the period whisper on, and so many people were like, "Oh my goodness, well, what is that?" I'm like, "Well, I can't tell you. You got to come and join." And then
Yes.
so we have a couple people that will be popping in with some questions. Hopefully, I did invite them back to us. But first and foremost, tell everybody a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Christine Marie, and it's tricky because I love the two names, but it's very, it's not normal to have two names, so I don't hold it against you if you don't use both. And I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, born and raised, and I adulted in California in Los Angeles, and I now live in Germany. So that was a big change in my life, and I am beyond obsessed with menstruation and the period and getting as many people now that I know there's a way. I didn't know
Yeah.
there was a way, but now that I know that there's a way to end the pain and end the PMS and end the diagnoses, then I am like on fire about it. And so that's my life, geographic, and then what I do.
Oh, I can't wait to get into the depth on how did you even get there. But first and foremost, that was really fascinating with me. Especially there's so many of us women who suffer through it, and I know I did before I reached the age that think I may be menopausal, but I'm okay with that versus the menstruation. But I
Yes.
commend you even to do even talking about it, and I'm glad we're talking about it. So how did you even get into this, and what led you to this down to this journey?
Yes. And I gotta say really quickly, there's a channel on Instagram called What the Menopause, and I take everything that they make. I take everything that they make, and I'm like, you don't have to wait until menopause to feel like this because everything's like, woo, we're so happy. And I'm like, no, we can be happy too. We don't have to wait.
Yeah.
So the question again was, how did I get there? How did I find this?
Yes. How did you even come to
Yeah,
about this? I think this is so fascinating. So how did you even get to
yeah.
this?
Well, what happened is, I would say this is where you really do believe in higher power, because when people ask me, I'm like, do you want the long story or the short story? But the long story begins with, I failed sixth grade. Like, that's the long story. And so, because I failed sixth grade, but through a bunch of things, they knew I was smart, but I knew I was dumb. I actually used holistic thinking and holistic awareness to to do very well in school, because I knew that I was dumb, even though I had taken a test, an IQ test, and it showed I was smart, and it put me in,
Oh,
gave me all these opportunities. But I knew that I was dumb. And so what happens when you get through life thinking holistically, thinking in a way entirely differently from others, you see the world in a different way. And so
Mhm.
I got really used to seeing systems and solving them. And I made businesses around, like, I found a sustainable way for fashion that people actually like. And I called it choiceless fashion, because people, I made the perfect dress. And once you found your fit, I just made it over and over again. And clients would buy one, then they'd buy
Mhm.
seven, then they'd buy whatever I had whenever it came out. And then I did it, and it was waste free, and it was all dead stock, meaning that it wasn't being made to order. It was things that other people had thrown away, fabrics. And so I was like solving all these problems at once, and I did it with test prep. I looked at the system of the SAT, ACT, GRE, and GMAT, and I saw, oh, that's what they're doing. You actually win if you don't think. And since I'm someone who doesn't rely on the mental, then it was like, oh, this is it. And so then I started sharing that with everybody. And it was during one of those sessions. So to tell you how strongly I rely and how confident I am in my ability to hack systems, like, it's my way of life. And so you take that confidence, and then you take the fact that since 15, I've had, since I started my period, I started late. I've had very painful periods. Nobody knew what to do with me. I'm the daughter of a doctor. I'm the granddaughter of a doctor. So these were my people my grandpapa mentored, people my father worked with, who were looking at me and going, so they were giving me the best care they could give me and saying, we're so sorry. You don't have a good womb. It happens to some people. Then I did the
Mhm.
birth control dance, got an early diagnosis of endometriosis, lost an ovary, had to do fertility treatments. The pain got worse and worse and worse. It didn't matter if I was doing birth control or not. And then the PMS started getting off the chain. And
Mhm.
so everything's just getting worse and worse. And the hysterectomy conversation, we're on our way to that, to removing my uterus. We're on our way to the psychiatrist, because these 3 days of hell are ripping my family apart. And then I was sitting with a student, and this is like such a, I think this is something that a lot of women might be able to identify with. I'm sitting with a student, and she's got cramps, and I look at her face through the computer. I'm doing test prep. I look at her
Mhm.
face through the computer, and I say, you're cramping. And she goes, yeah, but I'm going on birth control soon. And I was like, I know what's going to happen. And so, and I say this all the time, from my mouth to God's ears, I said, I wish there was a way that I wish there was something I could do. And when I
Mhm.
said that, the years, so when you cramp and you have menstrual migraines and insomnia, you've got a lot of time of pure suffering. And so what you're doing with Google is you're trying to find a way out. You're reading
Right.
every book you can, researching, reading, biology, all of the stuff. And so all of that, 2 decades of research, of emergency research under duress, and mixed with what I do, which is hack systems. And I'm always pragmatically driven. I'm always like, it's like always really obvious, but we just aren't willing to see it, because we're used to, this is how it works. And you say to somebody, that doesn't make sense. We should do it this way. And they go, maybe, but no, because this is how you do it. And you see, we have a lot of systems like that that make no sense. And this is one of them, the womb, how we deal with it. And so what I did was I leaned into the obvious, even though it took her. So this is the part where I say women might identify with me. I couldn't save myself. For whatever reason, I wasn't willing, I couldn't see it. But when I saw her and I saw the path ahead of her, and I could see myself at 17 losing an ovary, going under the knife for the second time because of reproductive issues, I knew, it was like, now is the time. And so it all landed, and I said, let's test this. I have an idea, let's test it. I tested it on her, tested on somebody else, tested on somebody else before myself, because
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I was so wounded that it wasn't going to change for me. I'm done, is what I thought. And I got the confidence from their results to test on myself. And I tested my process and it worked. And then I was like, okay, give me your worst, give me your fibroids, give me your PCOS, give me your endometriosis. Like, let's dance, because this is too, it's so awesome. And what happens is that what my process is really about is now this is speaking about it on the high level. It's
Right.
about you falling in love with you. It's about you going, all the realizing that your wholeness is what your womb was screaming for. And it being in a prison that was telling it, you're awful, you're the worst, you're a problem, it doesn't make sense, because our higher power, however you choose to identify it, put it in the center of our body and gave it the ability to create life. Why would tech like that have so many problems? You take that fact, like that obvious thing, and then you
Right.
take the statistic. 84.1% of women suffer from menstrual disorders.
Wow.
84.1%. There were no recalls at the factory. We had 90,000 years since we've been Homo sapiens sapiens. 90,000 years to get our body right. This never changed because it works. User fail. So what do? I nurtured the pain, and so I nurture the unpain.
So when you say, so I love this. And first and foremost, let me say, I needed you like 30 years ago. I promise you. Because I was one of those people that was just like, every month dreading it. And the part that I really connected to with the first thing, I literally told everybody, like you could see, I'm like, guess who I'm having on the show? The Period Whisperer. How many of you are dreading your cycle every month? How many of you are going through this, and this? And so many women are like, it's me, it's me, it's me. Which you have proven, that's the 84% or more that is in that area. But the part I really like to talk about is, how do you get the mindset? Because I promise you, I wish I had even the mindset to wrap around, oh, I can be cool with my cycle and my body. So how did you even get to wrap around the mindset piece of this first?
Oh, that's okay. So first off, you're hearing why I tested two people before me to prove it.
Yeah.
I couldn't have done it by myself. To be honest, I can see the wisdom of why I couldn't solve myself. I had no hope. And I was told by the greatest doctors not to have hope. That's a
Mm,
phenomenon called learned helplessness. It's a psychological state that you might be put in from a traumatic event. Martin Seligman and this other guy, they proved this existence by doing experiments on dogs. And they put them in a room, and if they put them in distress, and the dog would look for a button or for some way out, try everything, push, as soon as it did the right thing, it exited the problem. But they took another set of dogs, gave them no way out, gave them buttons, gave them all the stuff, but nothing worked. So then eventually the dogs gave up. And so they've learned, because instinctually we will always try to help ourselves, always.
Yes.
But if we get the same results over and over again, we have learned helplessness. And then they take these dogs and they put them together in the same situation. And some dogs get out, and other dogs just sit down and wait, just suffer through, even though they see other dogs being okay. And
True.
that's what we're dealing with. Like
Yes.
what you're describing, I couldn't have seen it. And that's why I was speaking with someone earlier who did her own process. She's like a master manifester. She did her own process to get herself out of painful periods. And I said, that's so cool. And she said, tell me your process. And I told her, and then she said, well, you manifested that. And I said, the last thing that this one can do is manifest out of pain-free periods, because I had tried wailing to the gods, I had tried every yoga, I had tried hormone therapy, supplements, I had learned all about, the uterus and all this stuff. Nothing. I tried being a good person, like being the best person I could be, because I knew if I was just good enough, then the
Mm-hmm.
punishment would stop.
Mm-hmm.
If I just suffer through, if I just go with tears down my face and just go because everybody else is going, like I thought I had done something really wrong. And what it was that I never had the mindset. So it's super interesting because the edition in March is mindset. And I wrote my article about maybe mindset's like not the best name, only because so much of my healing and my journey was actually letting the mind, like giving the mind a lot of timeouts and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
like, why don't you go over there and amuse yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Because my mind is so certain of the doom. Because it's like, weren't you there for 20 years? You were there. Like, those are your results. You need to accept your results. And
Right.
so I never had a mindset. All I had was a surprise. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the numbers are going down. Like the amount of ibuprofen I'm taking each month is going down. And I didn't actually realize I was to the point of pain free until I had a guest at my house, and they said, I have a little headache. Do you have some ibuprofen? And they knew I would have ibuprofen. I'm like the period pain person, of course.
Right.
I was
Right.
like, I don't know where it is. I
Wow.
think I'm out. Like, I had forgotten, and I looked at my calendar, and I remember like a few days later I looked at my calendar. I said to myself, I'm going to have my period today, and I got it, and I looked at my calendar and it was perfectly on time. And I was never on time before.
Right.
And I realized that I had had no PMS, I had had no pain, and I really it is like this. Like, like, oh my God, like, is this really happening? It's like that. That's how it feels.
Wow. So say for instance we have some guests on here and they're facing all of this. What would be one
Yeah.
of the things one what would be one tip that you would like for them to take away today? I know we can't solve it all here. This is all about
Yeah.
bringing awareness. This is all about at least empowering them to know there is a way to cope with this.
Yeah.
What is one tip what you could give them right now?
Um, I actually saw this woman's shirt today, and it said something like, be all of you, everybody else will adjust. Take your space, everybody else will adjust. And that's what comes to mind, because what I'm really doing, the reason I have a job, I can give it away right now. Your wholeness, what your period pain is about is that you are not showing up in wholeness, and it feels like a prisoner of war. And like any prisoner of war, it would die before it's going to surrender to you or stay in captivity. That's what your womb is saying. It's saying no more to this. No
Right.
more. You have music in your heart that the world needs to hear, and it's not out. And so I'm not going to let you go. That is fierce. That my program is literally called Fierce Gentleness, because it is a fierce love that is happening in your body, this pain. And so because that's the answer, show up in your wholeness, but because people like me cannot believe that they have a right to such a thing. I didn't believe I had a right to my wholeness. I didn't believe that I had a right to even, I wasn't allowed to have anything unless I'd earned it. And then if I earned it, I had to do something to destroy what I got, because I'm not allowed. I need to be Union Station. I cannot be the destination.
Right.
You know? And so that would be my tip. My first tip would be, my number one tip, because then this is something that you can build back from on your own, is acknowledge your wholeness. And if you want to know if you're whole, then check in with yourself. Your womb will be loud and clear. Hey, you know that slight that somebody just sent your way? That real that rude little thing that they did?
Mm-hmm.
That's not okay. But instead of, I'm going to tell you, you would go, let me see what phase I'm in.
Right.
Oh, I'm in queen phase, and queen phase is where PMS usually happens. It's a high awareness phase. We are introverted, but our mental is woo, it's like way up. And it's a
Right.
time actually for self-introspection, for self-improvement. But if we're living our whole lives for everybody else, which is what we're groomed to do as women, then that means that when we get to this place where we're on high awareness, we're telling everybody else about themselves. We're not using it for us. It's
Right.
for us.
True. True.
And so what you do is you go, hey, okay, I'm in queen phase, so I'm going to bite that person's head off. But this is about me. They slighted me. I have a choice here. I'm going to send this over to priestess. Priestess is the phase after when you're menstruating, and it's when you're like, your energy's super low and you're just like chilling. I always imagine like a mermaid in the water just hanging out. And the answer of how to deal with it will float up. It won't be on a list. It'll just float by and you'll pick it up, because your intuition and your emotions are very, especially your
Yep.
intuition, very high during this time. And you'll know how to deal with it, and it's usually comes down to, wow, that person said that because that's what they think about themselves, and they were just seeing the way that they see the world. It was not you. And then you have this, and so then you see that person again, and you're looking at them like this, because they're not telling you who you are anymore. You see them, and maybe you can be the change that they could want to see.
So true.
And so it becomes this gift. Everything in life, you realize that no matter what phase you're in, everything is there to serve, if you'll only allow yourself. And this is something that I still struggle with. If you'll only allow yourself to receive.
But that's hard. It is hard.
It is
It's
hard. And
super
that's
hard.
why people like me have a job. You know, we show you how to do this.
Yeah. I really, yeah, you're right, because I would be the one. I would have been your client. But I really like that. And I thank you for that. And I also, one thing I also liked when your bio, you have put empower your regular cycles. I was like, what, how do you empower, you know, you were saying empowering regular cycles. I really was like, I cannot even imagine that. And so I see
Yes.
your gift. That is so mind blowing. As in, when you're like empowering minds, how do I even get to that point? I mean, do you hear me stuttering? Because I could not imagine what it
The
would be
words
like.
can't go together.
It
Yes.
can't. It can't, because we have been so groomed. And you're right. We've been so groomed when we bought in to, you deal with it and move on.
Yep. Your problem. And
Not even.
what I say to that is, it's nobody's fault that you're in pain. But if you're, because society is built the way that it's built, and I can
True.
go on a whole thing about why it's built in a way that disempowers us,
Yes.
um, and why our parents didn't mean to give us this programming. Like, everybody well meaning, nobody's fault. But when you are suffering from menstrual pain or PMS or graduated disorders like endometriosis, PCOS, that kind of thing, when you're suffering, now it's your responsibility. Now you have to find a way to get to pain free. And there's
True.
my way, which is no supplements, no science. I put you in a cast of living, of empowered living, of love, 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 and you will make your way within 90 days to freedom. But some people want to take supplements. Okay, I will point you to the supplement queens because they're there. Some people want to take a course about science, like sugar and when to have sugar and when to have alcohol and when to have fruit and which fruit and what. If you
True.
want that, if you think that that's your way, then I will show you who to go to. But what matters most, and what I do, is that you're not using this as a handicap. The problem with those things is that they're great, but they're a way to also keep going on a path that's not serving us. If you're in pain, you need to nurture life, the
Mm.
no pain. And you've been nurturing the, oh, hold on, my one of my earbuds. We'll see how this goes. You've
Okay.
been nurturing the pain, and so now it's about nurturing the no pain, because who you be is going to eventually wear down the
True.
supplements you're taking.
So
And that's
true.
why we end up having to measure the supplements again, reset them, or we could just live our best lives. And honestly, the kids are going to be fine. The kids are going to actually learn. Women are allowed to take space for themselves.
Yeah.
Women are allowed to say, hold on a second, honey, I'm in the middle of something. Or, hey, I'm tired because I'm in priestess phase. Mommy's going to go to her temple. Deuces. And then the little girl goes, oh my God, I want to go to the temple. When do I get to go? Instead of, mom's not feeling well today, and you're walking around
Yeah.
trying to get through. Those are empowered cycles. And by the way, every cycle has superpowers with, like, baked in, and they are our physiological ways of being because of the different hormones that are shooting. And those superpowers allow us to be super in that phase in ways that we couldn't be if we were trying to do the same task 10 days later.
Mm. That
That's
makes
where
sense.
you get the empowerment. Yeah.
That makes sense. So that totally makes sense. That part. Like I already wrote that down. I'm like, ding, that makes so much sense. So much sense. Well, we're going to our time, believe it or not, we've already been on here for 30 minutes. So this has been, I know, right? I could do that. I told you I
Oh
could do
my.
this. I could do this all day, something I love to do. So I'm gonna put you in the back in the green room for a moment, get you a little breath, and then I'll bring you back in and we'll go from here. We'll have some fun from there.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool. Cool. So you guys, did you get your notes in? Did you hear her talk about each cycle has a has its superpower? I've been writing down my notes. If you don't believe me, look. I have notes. She's been dropping nuggets left and right. And so I'm hoping this is helping you. Especially, I understand. I wanted her to come on because I want you to understand we or all of us women have gone through some suffering pain with our cycles one time or another. And I wanted you to hear there's other alternatives and there's different methods of handling how we can handle our menstrual cycles. So if you're just now tuning in and you didn't get to hear all the nuggets that she's dropping. I mean, she even talked about how to manifest a painful process. You guys, she also talked about how there's 84%, 84.1% menstrual disorder. Those are women that are having the PMS and also having endometriosis and so much more. So I wanted us to know that We, all of us, or one of us, are facing those, but know how you can get through it, how to have the techniques and tools to get through it. So then you're able, maybe this is what's holding you back from your what's next. And now, once you get this under your belt, and now you get this taken care of or worked on, now you can work on your what's next. Isn't that amazing? So, you guys, real quick before I bring Christine back in here, I want you all to know that, and not only is Envision Me podcast out here to empower you, guess what else is? Vision Made Magazine. Vision Made Magazine is a quarterly magazine that will come in to you electronically or paper, and will have stories such as these, has as well as power words. You guys know I'm all about the power words, as well as vision boards. You know, that's my jam. I love some vision boards, as well as we even talk about the vision, the one goal in the bag. The one goal in the bag is actually a vision board kit that we have created. Now we have added the accountability coach as well. So we got a lot going on in the magazine. So if you're interested in getting a copy of Vision Made magazine, paper or electronic, DM me and I definitely will be connected to you. And also too, if you're ready to do work on your 30-day goal and you're needing a system to hold you accountable, not just with a vision board, but actually with 30 day of an accountability coach, DM me. I will be in touch with you. So let me bring Christine back. If you have any questions, comments, and concerns, drop them in the feed. I will definitely give them to her, or we can both, however you wanted to tackle it. But I want you to know we're here to empower you. So now back to, hey, Christine. So I was telling everybody, I don't know if you got to hear the nuggets that I was just dropping. So
Yeah.
I'm super excited. I told you I was listening. And so I told everybody if they have any questions, they can drop them to us. They can even text us questions at 653-7377. If you want to if you don't want to come on or you want to be anonymous, you can text them to us and I will definitely get them. If not to me, I will give them definitely to Christine. So Christine, let's shift this a little bit. Now we hear about the amazing system and product that you have that you have created, which is awesome. The next piece that we do is we always stop here and we talk about book on the shelf. The book on the shelf is not, I want to first give a disclaimer. I do not get any kickbacks. Everyone's like, you get a kick. No, I don't. I get no kickbacks. But I believe we empower ourselves by reading, by expanding our mind. So is there a book you're reading right now? And if so, what book would you like to recommend for a book on the shelf this time?
Well, I have two books that I'm reading right now.
Okay.
One one is called, it's just total fluff, and it's called The Second Mrs. Astor. And it's a period piece, and I use it to help visualize wealth and luxury. It's because the
Uh-oh, you dropped.
What? Okay, can you hear me now?
I can. I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, my headphones just went.
Um, um,
So it's called The Second Mrs. Astor, and they go into a lot of details about the sumptuous environment, and that helps train my brain when I go to sleep.
yes.
So I read
Yes.
that because I can't read the book that I'm reading before I go to sleep. This book is called If Women Rose Rooted by Sharon Blackie. And this book is it's devastating. It's hardcore, it's filled with facts, it's filled with information, and it's brilliant, but it's about the woman's responsibility to step up into our wholeness because we need to heal the world. We need to be the counteracting healing force. The masculine
Yes.
destroys, the feminine builds, preserves, and holds
Yes.
and
Yes.
heals. And I'm not speaking like woman does this, man does that. But more women happen to be feminine energy beings. And so it's about the responsibility that we hold that we're not taking. And so I think it's a brilliant book, but it's hard. I love gentleness and like really, really soft things. And it's
Yes.
something that yeah, so those are the books.
I love it. So as we talk about books on the shelf, okay, I see we have some echo. Echoing here. Let me see. I think we can do this. So with that being said, what is the one mindset thing, or what is your mindset, or what is your ritual that you do for you?
Something that I do for me.
Yes.
Well, I meditate twice a day. That's for sure. But what I
Okay.
really do for me, you know what I do? Oh, this is this is probably very weird. You know, I will walk up to trees sometimes and just like touch them. Just like touch the tree and just be like with it. And
And
that
why is that?
sometimes I'll get like a high five back. Like I'll feel like a yeah.
Love
Yeah,
it.
just like getting into the earth. Yeah.
Oh, I love
Grounding.
it.
I will take my shoes off. I was doing that with my neighbor the other day. He was like, he just took off his shoes and socks because I told him about grounding. And so then he was like, I'm just going to do it. And so then I was like, so am I. And it was like not warm outside. It was kind of wet. And I couldn't put my shoes back on because my feet were totally caked with mud. But it was like so freeing. Must have looked like wild people, but worth it.
Wow. Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what's next?
The book. The book. The book is the fastest. So everything I'm thinking about is always awareness. How do as many people as possible become aware? Because even if I'm not the person who grows the seed, at least I can be the person who plants it.
Okay.
That we all have a way to pain-free, PMS-free periods, regardless of diagnosis. So it would be a book because books get heard, they get cited, and they get read piece by piece. You know, people have experiences with books. They'll pick up a book and read a little bit, and they'll put it down, and then they'll pick it up and read the whole thing in one sitting, you know?
Yes.
Just they're ready. And I think the book is the most passive way. I don't believe in going after, like, I need this knowledge, so I'm going to voraciously eat it. Instead, I think you dose it. You just passively receive it. You let the world, and that's leaning into our feminine energy selves because we are beers. We are not doers. We're not inclined to be empowered by something like doing. It's much easier for us to be. So a book allows that immersive opportunity of hearing it. You know, I like to hear and see the book when I'm reading a book, you know? So
Yes.
that would be the next thing for sure.
Cool. Well, as we close out the show, what would you like to leave our listeners with?
That no matter how far you think you are, how unhealable you think you might be, especially with your uterus, as long as you still have it, you still have a chance. And if it's in pain, it is rooting for you because it knows that you can deliver it out of pain. It's just a matter of beginning, and that is hard, but you are brave, or else you wouldn't be in the situation. It is there to serve you, and you've got this.
Well, I'd like to thank you for coming on here. I'm so blessed. Yay! So thank you for joining us. This was an amazing time and I had a blast. But I want everybody to know that you guys, she dropped nuggets on here and I could talk to her all night. You guys know that. But I want everybody to know that we only have one life to live. I want you guys to go out here and to live your life. This is to empower you to go after your what's next, no matter what. So don't live your life for yourself and nobody else. Until next week, when you'll come on, I have another amazing guest. Come on here, bring it on. There's a powerhouse story so you can get empowered and inspired and help you get you to your what's next. Until next week, everyone, take care of yourself and know you're amazing. Oh, and how you doing? Hope you guys are doing well. Take care, everybody.